Hey, Victory Fam. So I'm going to put a possible trigger warning on this post. So we're going to talk about suicide and we're going to talk about depression. And I'm going to continue this conversation, hopefully, and bring on some doctors on with me to talk about it. Not right now, but this is just a little bit of a post. So now we have sadness, deep sadness, mild depression, and chronic depression, all going from one extreme to the next, right? And chronic depression brings you into that place of where you are really experiencing an illness. And sometimes, we start to feel really sad and losing hope and going depressed, and we try to dismiss it and cover it up and say we need to be strong and we can't be weak. But really, what is strength? Um, and I believe strength is even comes more when you are feeling vulnerable and able to say it, when you are able to release some of these feelings. And we know for sure that as we feel sad and the more negative and dark the places go, the molecular structure in our brain, neural pathways in our brain starts changing. So there are chemicals that are changing, not flowing as easily, or different parts. I won't even go into the different lobes. Our frontal lobe, the hippocampus is just different things are happening, right? So we are in a stage of grief for many of us, and many of us have been dealing with loved ones with depression and chronic depression for a long time. And this recent loss that a lot of the world has felt by the transition of Twitch. And I say Twitch because many people know him as that. They don't know him by his birth name. So I will stay with his name here, aka I call him Mr. Boss. And so, many people have come up with judgments, and maybe he wasn't working, or maybe he the transition from Ellen. You know, there could be so many reasons for his transition. And I just want to make a slight correction to something. Some people are saying he committed suicide. No, he did not commit suicide. It wasn't a crime. He died by suicide. So the result of the illness is death, can be death, just like the result of cancer can be death. When we're dealing with a mental illness, which is a brain disease, and the brain affects the mind affects the brain, when one goes into deep chronic depression, for whatever reason it is, it can result in this deep, dark place that is not easy for people to come out of, that can lead to depression. I mean, to suicide. It is painful, it is tormentive, and someone can be smiling 1 minute and then go back into that place, and it's like the light switch goes off and on. And so, one of the reasons for this post, I really, as we say, okay, let's check in on others. It's more than just saying, okay, hi, how you doing? It's really listening. It's paying attention over time, seeing beyond what we see, and knowing that we are all going through different things in our lives. I myself can say that I've been watching my loved one go through bipolar depression for the last 7 years, and in and out of the hospital, and right now is in hospital because of that. And some of you may have seen um, the results of what he's been experiencing on social media, and it has not been easy. And so I know what it is to watch a loved one going through these spurts, going through the thought patterns, and being feeling the pain and feeling the loss and the loss of hope. So I say to you, show up with love, show up lovingly, because we love to throw this word "I love you" around, and that is breaking people. Show up lovingly, show up how you care for others. Sometimes people don't have the energy or the ability to talk. There is a shame because when one is depressed, one hides, one isolates oneself. One can even show up looking great and performing for the world, but then when they go home, they are crying inside or on the outside, in private. And it's very hard to say what is wrong. There's also a shame that comes with it. There's a guilt that comes with it. There's so many things that happen when someone is depressed. And so I pray that those of you who are experiencing any form of depression, whether you need to talk to someone or if you also need to go on medication, Not many people are talking about the medication aspect, but sometimes you do need medication when you are experiencing deep depression. And so let's keep it real. Let's try to stay out of the judgments. Let's really try to stay out of the assumptions, and also be there for the families of individuals who have a loved one with a mental illness. It's a very different experience. I'll do another post for caregivers and about caregivers who are going through this journey like myself right now. And but reaching out for each other, caring for one another. And for I'll even add this piece. Many people say, I'll pray for you. Don't just say it. Pick up the phone and call and do it. You know, even if you have to leave a voice message, even if you have to type out a prayer, it is not good enough, people, to say, I'm just praying for you. I'm sorry. And if you feel offended by this, well, I'm sorry if you feel offended. Guilty as charged. But, we get away with these things. I'm thinking about you. What do you mean I'm thinking about you? If you are sitting with somebody who's depressed and they hear that, let me tell you what they're thinking in their head. Bullshit. Yes, I said it. Because that's how they feel. Because the actions is not lining up with the words. So you have to put actions behind the words. How are you showing up in prayer for somebody? How are you showing up and thinking about you? What does that really mean? Can you leave a voice message? Take it another step further than just hitting like on their post or hitting love on their post or just saying, okay, you're in my thoughts. We gotta do more. Do some random acts of kindness. Surprise them with a meal. I don't know, a massage, flowers, something. If they cannot move, they may be so curled up. I know my loved one was so curled up in bed for the last 5 months, not talking to friends. I was the only one they were talking to. And I could encourage till the cows come home, and it wasn't working because the darkness was so deep and the pain was so deep. And the medications that they were on wasn't really working. So many things can be happening when a person is going through. We need to start having real, true, vibrant conversations. And what does really showing up for a person with a mental illness, whether it's bipolar, schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, there's so many illnesses, concurrent disorders, alcoholism, drug addiction. Yes, alcoholism and drug addiction is a mental illness. And so don't tell me people made a choice. You may have made a choice the first time, but when it becomes an addiction, it is no longer by choice. It's one of the hardest things for people to come over. We don't criticize people who are smokers the way that we criticize people who are addicted to a drug like a fentanyl or cocaine or anything like that. We don't even criticize people who actually may end up alcoholics because drinking is a social norm. But I digress, right? Do you see the scroll on my face? So we're going to have some real conversation about mental health and wellness over the next few weeks and the next coming months. Bear with me and share and learn, and know that this is not a criticism. This is information that I am sharing with you, and I hope you can take it to heart and talk to your friends about it, talk to your family about it. And I am not perfect. It's a journey that you're always learning and always learning how to show up. And I also want to say thanks to the many mental health care givers in the workplace, because there's two type of caregivers: those that are caring in hospitals, and so the psychiatrists, the nurses, the different types of doctors, the different types of clinicians that are showing up in the space, and counselors and social workers. Give them some love also, because as they are taking care of our loved ones, they also have to mind their own mental health and wellness. So I should have put a long post warning on this one, but I didn't, because I didn't know how long it was going to be. Anywho, this is Nicole, your voice of victory and your mental health advocate and mental health caregiver, signing off with much love, with much care, and hoping that you are doing well. And if you're not, let somebody know somehow, even if it's a friend, a family member, a stranger, or even just call a helpline. Sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger than to the people you know. All right, peace, love, and God bless.